Yeah, well, this is funny. So Max Boot, neocon chicken hawk, who's spent a career accusing everybody who doesn't support um, proxy wars, dirty wars, and invasions of being foreign assets. His wife, who's a former analyst of the CIA, had just been accused of being an agent for South Korea and trying to influence Americans in exchange for payments from South Korea and some really nice luxury handbags and fancy dinners. And amazingly enough, not only is she Max Boot's wife, but they've co-authored a number of articles together advancing the South Korean government line. So Max Boot appears to himself be caught up in his wife's alleged espionage activities, which is just it's you know, all these accusations are always a confession, and it looks like Max Boot is no exception.
So yeah, I couldn't. He's blocked me, and I didn't feel like searching, but I feel like he's called me or you like useful idiots or Russian assets or something. Max Boot is one of the biggest warmongers in the think tank world to have achieved sort of some level of national renown through punditry. He was a signer of I think the original Project for a New American Century document calling for the U.S. to be a benevolent hegemon. He spent much of his career at the, the Kimberly Kagan think tank. And maybe I'm developing some level of dementia. The Institute for the Study of War.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is funded by the implementers of the profiteering from war. The arms industry is a major sponsor of the ISW, and they were simultaneously serving as David Petraeus's advisors while they lobbied for a surge, which also benefited the arms industry. They do that kind of thing. Max Boot's basically been a war lobbyist, but an American war lobbyist who's never met a war he didn't like. Then during the Trump era, Max Boot engaged in some kind of rebrand. And I think this was around the time when he met Sue Mi and left his first wife. And he started wearing a top hat that made him look like some kind of neocon train conductor and kind of trying to dress sharp and writing articles about his white privilege for foreign policy. Just talking, why is Max Boot interested in white privilege? He was rebranding himself to bring militarism and neoconservatism back to its home in the Democratic Party at a time when Black Lives Matter was out in the streets. And all along, he was getting involved with an apparent ROK South Korea lobbyist who was doing what I think everybody in the think tank world that Max Boot operates in does, right? She was getting money from some foreign government, like all the think tanks. Basically, she just cut out the middleman. Like if you're at the Atlantic Council, which has recently smeared us, you're getting money from the United Arab Emirates or some other Gulf state, or the US government or NATO directly funds the Atlantic Council. And then you're getting a fellowship, but you're getting the fellowship through the Atlantic Council. So you're just working for them. But she was just getting it from the ROK and then going out and publishing pieces with Max Boot calling for policies that are friendly to South Korea, sending them tactical nukes, stuff like that. So this was sort of the legal, she took it to the next level of the legal bribery that prevails among Beltway lanyards, the same people who constantly call us Russian or Iranian or Chinese assets. She called Max Boot, ironically called Tucker Carlson a useful idiot of Vladimir Putin, who sabotaged the Nord Stream pipelines. Russia is the most likely culprit, Max Boot says, which may be why Putin's useful idiots like Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump are blaming America. I don't even think that anyone believes Russia is the most likely culprit now, and Russia was never the most likely culprit.
I mean, he has his whole history of just complete failure. It's amazing. It's an amazing window into just how the U.S. established media rewards failure, because he's been wrong about everything. including anything to do with Russia. He obviously was a huge Russia gator. But here he is. This is 6 years ago this month, actually, July 2018. He debated the late Stephen F. Cohen, who Max and I knew well, on CNN about Russiagate. And because Stephen F. Cohen dared to question the foundations of Russiagate, Max Boot, of course, smeared him as a Russia apologist.
Threatens Russia, and that's why a lot of intelligence officials think that there is something highly suspect in the relationship between Putin and Trump.
I have no idea what Mr. Boot is talking about. He wants Trump to threaten Russia. Why would we threaten Russia? You've got two nuclear
because they're attacking us. Russia is attacking us. Russia is attacking us right now, according to Trump's own director of national intelligence.
Russia.
Listen to how just like the quiver in his voice, like he's so choked up because Russia at the time was accused of stealing some emails and putting out dumb social media memes, and he's such a unhinged neocon that in his brain that means Russia. Even if, I mean, it wasn't even true, of course, but even if it were true, he's saying that Russia is attacking us, and therefore he wants a confrontation with Russia.
Yeah, he seems wounded to his core that anyone would question the idea of war with Russia.
I've been studying Russia for 45 years. I've lived in Russia and I've lived here.
And you've been consistently an apologist for Russia in those 45 years.
Russia hasn't. Excuse me, what did you say to me?
I said you've been consistently an apologist for Russia in those last 45 years.
All right, I don't do defamation of people. I do serious analysis of serious national security problems. When people like you call people like me, and not only me, but people more eminent than me, apologists for Russia, because we don't agree with your analysis. You are criminalizing diplomacy and détente, and you are the threat to American national security in the story. Why do you have to defame somebody you don't agree with it? They used to do that in the old Soviet Union. We don't do that here. Well, we used to, but we need to stop it.
So, I mean, Professor Cohen was right in more ways than one because he called them a threat to national security. Well, it turns out U.S. law enforcement agrees because they've just indicted his wife as being a threat to national security by serving a foreign power. So there's some karmic justice there in Max Boot smearing Stephen F. Cohen as a Russia apologist, when meanwhile, now he's caught up in an actual foreign plot. And it will be interesting to see how the Washington Post handles all of this. Last time I checked, they hadn't updated the articles that he co-wrote with his wife about South Korea. But I'm sure, I mean, they're going to have to because it's such a scandal.
We'll see. I don't believe they'll do anything ethical. By the way, Max Boot was born in Russia, which I think has something to do with his hatred of Russia. He's one of those exiled neocons. But the Washington Post, as Alex Rubinstein pointed out, had the Qatar Foundation ghostwriting op-eds for Jamal Khashoggi. And I don't know if there's been any accountability there for that. Meanwhile, the Washington Post is trying to falsely brand us as foreign agents on the basis of a nothing burger.
Yeah, Joseph Menn of the Washington Post, if you're watching this, he's the one who wrote the article attacking Wyatt Reed of the Grayzone and smearing us as being falsely claiming we're paid by Russia and Iran. If he's watching this, he can now report on his own colleague at the Washington Post for being an actual foreign agent or a foreign agent adjacent. He can follow that beat.
Well, I mean, this is what it is Max Boot and his wife, or Max Boot's wife, was advancing the interests of a supposed ally of the U.S., which is basically a frontline state in the containment policy against China and North Korea. We are, like Stephen Cohen, advocates for peace with Russia and China and Iran. So we get called assets of Russia and we get attacked in the Washington Post, and they try to hold us accountable because we are a threat to the paycheck of people like Gene Kirkpatrick fellow Max Boot. And that's just the way that the Beltway foreign policy elite and the think tank lanyard world works. If you're for peace, you're a subject for an article of the digital threats editor of the Washington Post. You are a digital threat if you're for peace.
Here's one more from Max Boot. 18 reasons why Trump may be a Russian agent.
I missed that.
And of course, he went on CNN to explain. I mean, the karma is just so funny.
Let me see. Pulling troops from Syria. Well, that's clearly why. If you're for peace, if you pull the troops out, you're a Russian asset.
Yes. Putin got Trump to call for pulling troops from Syria. Well, thankfully, from Max Booth's perspective, Trump's generals just ignored him, and so therefore undermined that Russian plot to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria.
Number 12 supports populists. Well, I guess William Jennings Bryan was also, in the back pocket of the Romanovs. What do we got? Undermines the FBI. I remember that one. If you criticize the FBI, you're a Russian asset. That's what they did.
Yeah.
Oh man. It's really taken me back. Well, yeah, I don't know if he's issued any statement about this at all.
I'm blocked as well by him, so it's hard to keep up. But hopefully we'll hear from him soon.